What's up, everybody? This is Carson Gibbons. I'm laughing here hysterically in the studio with my good friend Bradley Colvin. Bradley, what are you laughing about?
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in.
We're crying here. We finally decided to hit record so that we could capture some of this goodness for episode 4.
That's right. If you checked in the last podcast, you would notice that there were certain elements that were sped up.
That were awesome.
And so we've spent the last maybe 45 minutes trying to figure out how we're going to record this, and we actually ended up just going back to our old way. So that's why I'm laughing.
Well, wasn't it Edison who said, I didn't fail, I learned a lot of ways to not create the light bulb or whatever he did?
Yeah. I'm going to take your word
Which one
for
did
it.
he do?
The light bulb.
Okay. Yeah. What other accomplishments does he have? You know what? We're done extrapolating out of tie. I feel like episodes
I'm loosening up my tie, all right?
Yeah, well, you're not wearing a tie. So I feel like episodes 1 through 3. So here's what happened. In the last week, I recorded another podcast or two for a new business-specific series that I'm doing.
Yeah, it's the Smarter podcast.
Well, no. It's just, it's more narrowly focused, I would say.
Yeah.
You know? It's got, because I'm spending, I told some of my friends that wanted the podcast that I'm spending all of my personal nuggets on you, B-Rad.
Oh, that means a lot.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't, and I don't want to repeat. You know, I already feel like I ask people, like, hey, what do you know about? Did I tell you this, already? When was the last time I saw you? Every time
last Wednesday.
No, I know, but every time before the podcast started, I would always be like, when did I last see you?
Yeah.
I never can place the specific date or time of virtually anything.
It's been a while.
But anyway, I don't even remember where we were going with that.
Wonderful.
Do you remember?
You were recording podcasts with other...
Oh, thank you. So I recorded these business podcasts, and yeah, they're not more serious in terms of effort or anything like that. Because I feel like we've tried to scrounge up some good content for weekly catch up for sure. This is just more topical and narrow in its focus. And what it told me is that we need to let our hair down.
I love it.
I was realistic. I'm like, this is not a scalable effort for us to be serious and current. I listened to episode 3 and it was basically me being like, hey, race and war and politics and guns and religion. What do you think about it?
And then I would be like, absolutely, 100%. And I'm going to try to eliminate those catchphrases from myself. That's something I've become subconscious about.
You've been walking with the Lord this month, on these spiritual retreats, hanging out with students, going to pumpkin patches.
Pumpkin patches, baby.
Yeah, didn't we tease? Weren't you going to go to a pumpkin patch over the weekend?
I did go to a pumpkin patch over the weekend, and it was wonderful. I went with my girlfriend. Gasp.
Whoa, I thought we weren't going to talk about this on the podcast.
Well, here we are. I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid it whenever that's who I'm hanging out with most of my time off.
You left not only the audience, but me confused with last week, because you were like, yeah, I'm going to a pumpkin patch. Everything's normal. We click end, and you're like, I'm going with the girl. This isn't original inspiration, know? And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. But up until now, we were like, oh, let's not discuss any of that stuff. But
right, we were going to try to avoid talking about our personal lives, but we figured...
So you got married in a pumpkin patch over the weekend?
No.
Who's the girl?
Her name is Courtney.
Who's the girlfriend? Excuse me.
Yes, her name is Courtney.
Courtney.
She's a nurse. She's lovely. I
saw some Facebook, I think you even posted to LinkedIn. You were so excited.
Well, I'm not typically one that enjoys being in the spotlight, but I also feel like she deserves to be shown off. So
that's why I'm bringing to market my brand new podcast.
Yeah, but again, I don't know. I've already discussed on air my fears of that.
So let's talk about your fears.
Boy.
Where'd you meet this girl?
Oh, I've known her for several years. We went to the same college. A student taught her brothers whenever they were in middle school. And now they are
laugh.
Why?
You student taught her brothers. It
Yeah.
just seems like a weird statement. Who are her brothers? How many brothers does she have?
I mean, I'm not just gonna like give everybody's.
Do you
names.
remember that YouTube video, Unforgivable, where the guy's out in the field?
Some waffle fries for free.
Do you remember? I don't know if it was video 1 or 2 where he's like, "She better not have no little brother. That's a mistake."
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. Like, I feel like even my current flame doesn't have any siblings, so I can't believe that. How many brothers does she have?
They're twins, so she has 2.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, and
that's what I've always wanted if I had kids.
Right. So her family's great, and everything's wonderful. Yeah.
Man, a few words about his pending nuptials, folks.
I will answer whatever you throw my way. Other than that, I'm just going to keep things private.
This is, whoa, what?
Welcome to the pod.
You volunteered this information, and then you're like, otherwise it's private.
I mean, whatever you think the world wants to know, I will share.
Okay, so Courtney, same college, you know the family, they're awesome. She's a nurse. She's very cute, I saw on Facebook.
She's beautiful.
Very beautiful. Congrats, buddy.
Thank you.
Little mic tap there. Yeah. What else is there to say? When did this flame kind of pick up? Because you've known her for several years. When did this turn romantic, I guess you would say? Did it start friendly? It
started friendly. There's always been some flirtation going on, but since I was living in Maryland, nothing ever really came from it. But whenever I moved back, we went on a date, probably the week after I moved back.
Flirtation pre-Maryland?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so, it's, I guess, been in the works for a while.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, where is she in proximity to you?
She's currently in Temple. So
Temple, Texas.
Yeah, about an hour 45 out.
From Dallas or?
From Mansfield.
From Mansfield. Okay, so the greater Arlington area. Dude, Mansfield is becoming its own, it's like a new South Lake, I feel like.
Wonderful segue. Yeah, downtown Mansfield is blowing up. They have this music venue that they're doing where smaller bands can come out and play. They just have a brewery out there. They have tons of outdoor activities, open mics, burger joints. And
you need to have me over there, dude. Because the last time I went to your dad's house, I remember driving past all these pretty much mansions. And I was like, dude, it's popping out here.
For those listening, this is a crazy statement that Carson just made to me. The fact that he wants to get out of Dallas and hang out outside.
Whatever, man. That's the old me. I'm not in my bubble.
Right.
I barely go out in my bubble.
All right, well, we'll get you out there.
I've been out several weekends in a row.
Yeah, so there's a Twisted Root here in Dallas. They have one out in Mansfield now.
Ooh.
And
dude, they used to have one of those at the shops at Legacy.
Yeah.
Do you remember that apartment? My first apartment out of college.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, Twisted Root. They threw down with some crazy specials.
Yeah, those burgers were amazing.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah, have me over to Mansfield, dude. I would love to do that, and I would love to see, because I'm interested in I've been interested in the concept of cities, towns, villages. I don't know if we've talked about this in the podcast before, but in all of my travels, the 6 or 8 weeks prior to us starting this pod together, I was, all over Europe. I was all over, the Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and oftentimes the way that I like to travel is very much by the seat of my pants. So when I went to Europe, I literally booked a flight to New York on points with Southwest, stayed with a buddy that night, and then had booked a flight nonstop from JFK to London, 36 hours in advance. I used Skyscanner. I got a good rate. I bought a one-way ticket. I didn't know when I was coming back. And then I ended up flying into an airport other than Heathrow. And I was like, oh, crap. London's it's bloody far away. And it was raining, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so just pissed. And then I went to my hotel, and it was it was not a hostel, but it was like helping the good fish boys of London or something like that. It was super cheap.
Right.
And it was like, but there was like probably 200 rooms on each floor. Like it was like a cubby basically. So I'm just, and I didn't bring any adapters either. Anyway,
Ouch.
long way off topic. But in all of my travels through all of these towns, especially in America, I like to use Hotel Tonight. So I don't know if I've raved to you about.
You have not.
There's a couple products that like I rave about for kind of your normal younger, business type consumer. Southwest Rapid Rewards Visa. Any podcast listeners, holler at me because I want to sign you up. I want to get that referral code. I want to get those miles. Basically, if you go get their credit card, which is only like $99 a year, you get a pretty good credit limit. You get all these perks, and it converts into miles. And they give you like 50,000 points right off the bat if you spend like $2,000 in the first 3 months on the card. I think you have it too, right?
I do not, but I am planning on getting it.
Through me, right?
Correct.
Okay. We've talked about this for
We have
2
I know.
years.
Hey, I got you, man.
Well, no, I know. I just, I think I get like 10 or 40,000 miles if you do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you do that, which we all spend like, I assume we all spend like at least $2,000 on a credit card every 90 days or so. Sometimes every 2 weeks for me.
If you got it.
No, not always. No, I pay my statement balance every time. Not like I used to do, my buddy John told me that I could pay like whatever the activity balance was or whatever, which was always like the much lower amount.
Okay.
But I pay like up to the day, you know what I mean? Because I just don't like the concept of debt.
Right.
And I've had debt in the past, and I just feel very beholden. But anyway, so going back to the towns, Hotel Tonight, that's one of the consumer apps that I would definitely download. I just made level 5 on it, and it used to just serve up like same day hotel inventory that hadn't been booked yet. And so you had to check in at noon on the day that you were traveling and see what was available for that night. Now it's been several years and they've really grown. They got acquired by Airbnb.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that one.
Yeah. And I think Hotel Tonight is better than Airbnb. I think Airbnb is actually kind of creepy, especially if you're a woman traveling alone. I'm like, what would stop me from duplicating this key right now and coming back and like killing whoever's here next? Honestly.
You're absolutely right.
You think they change the key every stay? There's no way. Most of them like have a freaking lockbox thing where they're like, the key is there. There's like a variety of maintenance people with access that are just going in and out. But a lot of those Airbnbs are just managed properties where the owner hasn't stepped foot on the land in months.
Okay, so you're talking about this. You're talking about Hotel Tonight.
Yeah.
So can you explain the difference there?
Well, Hotel Tonight is for hotels, which are an added layer of security because if you're, especially compared to even a motel.
Okay, so so Airbnb just acquired that company, but
correct. Correct. But yeah, Airbnb's taken over the world. Their newest valuation is like $30 or $50 billion, and this is just there's a lot of like acquisitions and M&A within the travel space, like. Our buddy John that works for Expedia and whatever brand he's on today.
Shout out John.
The other day he was like telling me about some brand that he was interfacing with, and I thought that it was like an external brand because it was like hotels.com, and he was like, "Oh no, that's within our space." Like Expedia bought everything a couple of years ago.
Right.
So anyway, going back to what I was originally saying, I use Hotel Tonight. I decided to go on the trip like last minute, and as a result. I always like to see what the inventory is in like sometimes small towns because I'll just go until I'm tired. And the basically I've learned that until you have about 50,000 people in a particular place, I'm not really comfy. Like 10,000 people, you might have a Chili's, maybe a McDonald's.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
I know this
not a lot of options.
No, and I've made the mistake of like going through. I was trying to stop in Vernon, Texas, on a road trip here recently, and I was under the impression that this was some little bustling metropolis out there. Turns out it was like 2,800 people. So I spend a lot of time with like Wikipedia, like literally looking at the size of township as I'm doing road trips, and that's kind of how I help determine, like, okay, this is like a place worthy of my staying.
Got it. Yeah. So all that being said, I'll bring you out to Mansfield.
Jeez, man, take over this podcast. I'm just rambling. But no, Mansfield has been popping. I remember thinking that Mansfield was getting on the map whenever like all the Rangers, I felt like, moved there, like all the Texas Rangers.
Right.
Like I knew Michael Young had a big place out there, and you know, it's one of those weird, like Mansfield, Prosper. Some of these kind of, even parts of Flower Mound, I hear are like really affluent, and you know, football players are all living there. And
I hear Flower Mound's great. I actually haven't been out there in years and years, so I know we used to play some sports games out there, but I've heard it's popping. Yeah, I actually had a student who was in Dallas this past week, said he was in Tony Romo's neighborhood and saw Tony Romo out in his front lawn. It was a senior who told me the story. It's a high school student, so I don't know how truthful it was, but he claimed to see him out there in that nice little neighborhood.
Well, what was the senior doing creeping in a nice
neighborhood? He was at a birthday party for his now ex-girlfriend.
Wait, he got dumped since the weekend? What a chump.
No.
Shoot, he might be listening to this. I don't know.
Even if he's not.
Oh, yeah, no.
Even if he's not.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'll attack you.
What happened? What did he do?
What do you mean, what did he do?
Why'd the relationship end?
Oh, I don't know.
To make way for...
Because it's a high school
world had to, like, cancel a relationship so that you could get into yours? Is that the way this works?
That's exactly how it works. You know, just got to make a sacrifice.
So he gets to go to Tony Romo's neighborhood through the girlfriend, and then on the way home, she's like,
"Hey, but this is why I don't think it's true." Because
she was like, "We saw Tony Romo." She was like, "I was there too, and now you're single."
But he said, "I saw Tony Romo's daughter," and Tony Romo doesn't have a daughter, so I think all of it was a lie.
Lying.
However, he did just show me pictures of the neighborhood, and it was a nice neighborhood. I cannot claim.
Dude, this guy is like casing something. Like,
yeah, I have no idea. I love him though.
Tony, I'm gonna give you the daughter you've always needed that I see. That whole story sounds super sketch. I think you should go to the principal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share.
Were the photos that he showed you out of a manila envelope?
Yeah, there was a lot of red yarn.
Was he wearing a trench coat? He's like, yeah, she dumped me, see?
You're an idiot.
No! This is how we talk. Like,
it is.
Okay, so, you know, a student is down on his luck, but you're up on yours.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. Like, I don't really know what questions to ask you about the new girlfriend. I mean, congrats, buddy. Like,
thanks.
You've obviously told me off air about this, as it's kind of been budding here, and you know, I just haven't seen you go. I haven't seen you go this public, and dude,
I'm telling you, man, I'm typically a very private person. That's another reason why this podcast is helping me get out of my shell.
The last time was like in college, maybe.
Probably around 2013, man.
Oh, wow. 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, I've dated in between there, but as far as like serious relationships.
Yeah, this is the first one whose name I've known since 2013, really.
And we're good friends.
Yeah. I mean,
like I tell you, more than I tell most.
We're great friends, but I'm also a bad friend. Just universal. No, I'm playing. I just, you know, having gone through my 20s and, you know, dated and have friends who have dated, like, I feel like there's a certain, especially on a per person basis, like, I know that you're going to make me aware.
Yeah.
The severity level doesn't sound like the appropriate term, but
the seriousness.
Yeah. The level of severity with the heart. Like,
right, yeah. It's like, calm down.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what the word is. I only have like bad adjectives or something. Not based around relationships, just in general. But Yeah, man. Congrats. Like,
Thanks.
so what are the next steps there? You already know the family. She knows your family. You took her to see your mom. when you were
Yeah,
down
she's
in-
actually getting her nails done with my mom as we speak.
No way.
Yeah.
So they get along.
Yeah, my mom lives in Austin, and so they actually she drove out to Austin, and they're
How
getting
far
their
is
nails
Temple
done.
from Austin?
It's about 45 minutes.
Oh, shoot. So, like, they're developing a relationship down there, and you're up here.
Yeah.
Wow. So, is this their first hangout solo?
Yeah, without me.
Right now.
Right now.
Oh
man.
my gosh. We should have, like, started this entire podcast differently. Being like, Brad's new girlfriend is out with his mother for the very first time. In a different city.
Yeah, I'm sure they're having a blast. You know, they really hit it off, and I'm sure they're swapping stories about me, which is another one of my nightmares. But I'm sure they're having a great time.
All right, well.
Shout out. Hi, Mom.
Shout out to Courtney and Brad's
Courtney.
mom. I thought your mom's name was potentially something else. I guess I won't dead name anybody on the podcast, but you posted on Facebook about the relationship.
Oh, my
and
aunt.
I see, I thought it was your mom. It's your aunt. She just goes like, okay, da. And then I see like all these replies pop up later, and I'm just stalking your post, and you're like, I tried to find you and like introduce her. And
yeah, so if you're listening to this, and you are a good friend or family member of mine, I apologize if I didn't let you know beforehand that I have been dating someone.
You likely are.
Yeah. That's my bad. Once again, if you know me very well, I have been very private about my relationship status for a long time, just because I don't like everybody in my business whenever it comes to that. I like keeping everything in-house, but
keeping it all in house.
I understand if I offended anyone, but too late now. It's Facebook official. There's your notice.
Yeah, and if he offended you, like, get over yourself. Seriously. Like, no, we all mean it with love, but get over yourself. Like, maybe go find love for yourself. No, I mean, that's just the way that we should all feel about that. Don't hate on the player. I hate on the game, I guess.
I appreciate you standing up for me, but now I feel like I'm going to have other fires to put out.
You know what? I said it. If they have a problem with it, they can come find me.
Yeah.
I'm at Carson C. Gibbons on Twitter, at Carson Gibbons on Instagram. If you have a problem with it, you let me know.
Hit him up.
Like, slide into my DM, be like, I don't appreciate that.
Oh, man. This is great.
No, so, yeah, Brad kind of extended that apology while at the same time saying that he tried and, life happens.
Yeah, I was just in it, all right? I was not thinking about other people, and so
okay, so last piece of this that we'll discuss, and then I'll kind of let you off the hot seat.
Thank you.
Because she's in a different market, I guess. You said it was an hour and 45 from you.
Yes.
That is such a weird distance. Like, we've all dated somebody that was within an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we've all dated someone that's like, 1,700 miles away or something like that.
Right.
Hour 45 is like, what kind of time allocation is that going to be?
So since we've started, going on
weekends,
dates, mostly weekends, but there's been a day where, like on a random Wednesday, I drove out and we got dinner together, and then I drove back home and went to work the next day. So we're making it work.
Gotcha.
Yeah. She works nights, so...
Nights, weekday nights, or just any given night?
Any given night.
Okay. So she might be like free on like a Friday, Saturday, but then have to work like a Sunday night.
Exactly. Gotcha. Yeah, so like we're hanging out this weekend, and then she has to go back into work Saturday night.
Is she doing like 3 shifts a week, or is she doing like
typically 3.
Aggressive? Like, I know some people that do like 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, sometimes,
which is
get that
kind of crazy. Like, I could understand 4, but I think 5 12s would be pretty difficult to do regularly.
Yeah, and I mean, after a certain point, it might not be beneficial for the actual patients, Got to make sure everybody's well rested.
Dude, the last time I went to the hospital to check up on a friend, the chart had been up. It was like last updated. It was like today's date, and it was 4 months prior. And I was like, what is going on? was like, we need Bernie Sanders in a revolution. No, for real. Like, I spent that entire hospital visit being like, you know what? Bernie's right. Like, this is all screwed because they're just bilking you, dude. Like, it was, if you go into the ER and you go into a room, if you just get admitted, it's like $2,000 right off the bat. And it's basically just a pod that they put you in. They're like, okay, you've rented the pod. Now you get to view and access products. And they come, and all of these tests are products, like, anyway, no shade against your girlfriend, obviously. Like, she's doing awesome stuff. It's just that the healthcare system, at least in the ER, I feel like once you've made it into the main hospital portion, it's probably more consistent, normal care. But in the ER, it just seems like such a gouging.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the ER?
Once. I had side problems. I was worried that I was having a heart attack. But
for real?
Yeah.
Well, how old were you? You're like 11.
Well, let me think. I was probably like 22, 23. And I've had the same issue since then, but since the first time it wasn't a heart attack, I just waited to go see the doctor. But I have like an enlarged spleen, and so sometimes that gets inflamed, and it makes it...
What does your spleen do?
I don't know, bro.
Well, you know how like liver is for
yeah.
Booze or whatever it does, filters your stuff. What does the spleen do? What is its purpose? Here's the other thing.
Well, people get their spleen removed all the time. Like, I don't know if it's like a necessary...
That's the point.
Body part.
Spleen, appendix. What does an appendix do?
I don't know, man. Okay. What does it do?
Well,
I need you to say you don't know, so I'm not the only one.
We're going to get Courtney the nurse featured on an upcoming episode so that we can actually learn something.
There we go.
We should bring Google into the studio for once. And what does the spleen do? So what else has pumpkin patch?
Yeah, man. The student that you were making fun of earlier,
you know what?
He was actually going through it, and so I took him out to lunch the following day because he was having a bad day, and yeah, so well done.
Well, that was Monday, bro.
Yeah, so on Sunday I took him out to eat, and just got to know him a little better, and it's really nice being able to chat with some of my students and them feeling comfortable enough to open up to me about certain things that's going on in their lives.
This is why you're going to be a great dad. Like, and this is how I know I'm not meant to even nurse a puppy, because I'm like, why do you care? This is like the first of probably 20 failed relationships you'll have, kid. Like, if I'm being realistic.
But it's also your first time experiencing loss,
Dude, my first girlfriend, we just were like, hey, want to date for the summer? And we did. And then we both just knew when it was over, and we met up, and we were like, this has been great. And we just both knew, and we just walked our separate ways, and remained like casual friends, like we'd like each other's stuff or holler from a distance, but never really seen her maybe one time in like all the years, since then. But
yeah,
it was not, maybe it wasn't that committal, but
but
it was my first real girlfriend. I think we did
maybe that just shows that you weren't that serious. But you have to admit, like, you've been in relationships where it has been difficult after the fallout.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it just happened sooner for this guy. Like,
so he's a senior?
Yes.
So he's 18.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes high school is a big range, because you can think about it as like 14 to 18.
Yeah.
And so 14, I think of as much different than 18.
Oh, yeah,
like,
for sure.
My 14-year-old self compared to by 18, so 14 years old, I was like...
Share it.
I was not the fine gent you guys know today. I think I was no longer 4 foot something. I think I was 5 foot something by that point. But I just remember getting my 16-year-old driver's license, and it said that I was 5'4" at 16, and not a hair on my body, and that's demoralizing, dude.
So, like, still.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm a swimmer, bro. So no, so I was just very short. I was like, I'd never really had a girl. Like, I'd like this one girl. She'd liked me, and then we were too scared to even sit next to each other, like our church type stuff,
Right.
Um, ended up being great friends with her family to this day. But no, I didn't grow until I was 17. And then the summer of my 17th birthday, basically, I grew 7 inches in one summer.
Wow.
And, like, went from 5'5" to, like, 6'1". So.
How was that for you? You start acting up?
Well, no. So I think that I'd had to gain that's going back to the fragility stuff that I was talking about. That was, granted, listening back to it from a previous episode was kind of stiff, but I liked that topic in that, like, I think I was referencing some of that for me, where it was like, it wasn't a problem for me. Like, I didn't feel, I don't feel like I thought I was in the in crowd as a result of it. Like, just some of my maybe physical shortcomings, the fact that I was never like the jock, right? Like,
right.
I remember going to high school basketball tryouts. I went to like the pre-tryout, and like literally just like did some layups and was like, great job, guys, and like didn't even write my name down because I was like, I'm not going to make it. I don't have this dedication level. And by that point, I remember I was probably 5'4", and one of my good buddies at the time was 6'5", and so like it was ridiculous.
Right.
Like, it was demoralizing.
I hear you.
And thankfully I made it to the absolute perfect height, because if you get much, I was talking about this with I think it was Checkers or somebody the other day, and I was saying, if you're 6'4" or 6'5", you're starting to get into freak zone, like,
yeah,
for sure, especially if you're white. Like, one of my buddies, he just recently had a birthday. He's an awesome dude. He was a great basketball player and great celloist growing up. We grew up next to each other, but he is a fairly stereotypical white-looking dude, except for the fact that he's 6'11".
Whoa!
So his whole life has been a challenge, dude. Like, trying to find clothes, shoes,
just entering a room, having to duck.
And I'm already pissed off on flights enough. Like, what do you think he's going through?
Yeah.
How tall is Alec?
Yeah. So shout out Alec. He's 6'7". He's my really tall friend.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I forget how tall he is.
Yeah. He's a big old boy.
He wears it all right, though. Like,
oh yeah.
Alec gets away with it, and most 6'7" guys wouldn't. But
yeah, he doesn't look awkward. Like he's just like a strapping man.
But that's weird because, like, obviously, based on my behavior up until now in this podcast, like, I will rip somebody up, and like he doesn't. You almost think you remember him as shorter. You remember him as the tallest one in the group and really tall,
right?
But not like 6'7".
Yeah,
that's crazy. Who's second tallest in your crew over there? You?
Probably.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
Number 2. No, I'm just glad that I made it to where I did. How did we get on height and... Oh, first girlfriends.
Yes, and then you shot up.
When did... so I shot up and, just met this cool girl, and we had a great summer, great relationship, and then just knew it was over, and, we shed tears for about, 2.5 minutes, and then never again, and it was chill.
Yeah.
So, how long had he been going out with this girl?
Not long. He had been in another relationship for like 2 years, which is crazy for high school standards. And then he just jumped right into this relationship. So his issue was that before they had broken up, he felt that she had treated him better than he had ever been treated before. Like, she was just really kind to him and, lifted him up. And then I guess that weekend she tore him down. So he was just kind of devastated for how much kindness he had received. And then out of nowhere, it had just ended.
So not only did she dump him, but she was mean about it.
A little bit, yeah.
How so? Nobody knows who any of these people are. Like, everything is blinded. But do you happen to know the deeds of, like, what was
sure.
mean? What is current 2019 mean girl?
I'm gonna have to be very careful on how I post for people to listen to this, because I don't want any of my students, getting into his business or anything.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking we'll reformat the show as an expose, like Brad's students tell all the pulse of religious schools 2019.
Anyway, so it was like her birthday party, and she had also invited her ex because her ex's family is friends with her family.
Oh, I thought you said her ex's family.
Her ex's family.
No, I thought you said her ex is family.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. No, but the family of her ex is friends with her family. And so apparently, there was like dancing going on and everything, and he had gotten like upset about this, and he talked with her and
she was dancing with the ex?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of dancing?
If you've seen like any type of hip-hop music video lately, I'm sure it would replicate that.
Wait, but I thought like the parents and stuff were there.
Listen, man, this girl doesn't go to the school I teach at, so I know nothing about her. I don't know what her parents allow in their household.
So she's grinding on her ex, and he sees this?
Yes.
And then what does she say? Is he like, WTF?
Yeah, I mean, he's upset about it, rightfully so. And so they have a talk, and then she says she can't do this anymore.
Oh, man. Wow. That's juicy, man.
Yeah.
This is like a One Tree Hill plot or something. Like,
my goodness. Shout out One Tree Hill.
Man,
shout out Sophia Bush.
Man, that's the girl. She's probably the one. Like,
I named my car after Sophia Bush.
She is delicious.
My first car. Yeah.
She was in Chicago PD. When she puts a gun on her hip, just something in me. I don't know what. Currently, I'm super hung up on that Chicago PD show. And Burgess, shout out character Burgess. She is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Her real name is like Marina Pascal or something like that.
I have no idea.
Oh my, I follow her on Instagram now. And she posts like outtakes from the show, and it's just like her like busting indoors with her gun drawn. And I'm like, ah!
I feel like I need to give you some space.
No, man. You're fine. Wow. Well, that's dramatic as all get out.
Yeah, man. High school's always dramatic.
The small town? Is this kid from Keene?
Who knows, man?
I'm not going to give a global audience.
Yeah, I'm not going to, give all his like everybody that's listening to this.
Dude, actually, at 18, truth be told, like if that were me, I'd be a mess.
Yeah,
like
it is.
My heart
is difficult.
I almost wish that my heart could go back to beating like it did when I was that age. Like when stuff. The only problem is that it beats both ways. So
I just want to feel again.
Yeah. Well, like sometimes when how it can beat positively with passion, but then it can also beat negatively with jealousy.
Right.
And
I used to be very jealous.
Dude, me too. Like up until about last week, actually. I beat it last week. So
well, good for you, man. Yeah. Jealousy had a good run. I'm just happy that you made it on the other side.
No, I'm gonna be jealous until the day I die, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a certain I think everyone is up to a certain extent. Like if you just catch your spouse or partner or like the girl that you came with, like it's one thing if she's dancing with somebody. I've been out with people that just straight up like hooked up with somebody else in front of me type deal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have that type of understanding with somebody and, it's like, hey, you shouldn't have done that. But,
right.
Other times it's like, what just happened? I can't get over. Why would she invite both there, do this, and then why am I delving into her personal life to this extent?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back. I mean, I think we've all heard the line like, oh, he's just a friend. You have nothing to worry about. It's just one of those classic stories, and it's just going to be a learning experience for him.
You don't think you can be just a friend?
Oh, no, I definitely do think you can. I just think more times out of not, there's something going on.
You can't. Yeah,
I don't know. It's just
I've often because I have a couple lifelong gal pals that
absolutely,
and you can't say that they were always like out of the friend. Sometimes people start not in the friend zone, like they're
and then
an option
over time.
And either over time or fairly immediately, you decide like, oh, this is going to be platonic.
Yeah.
I get it. And those people are awesome though.
Right. And so you obviously want to keep them as friends, but whenever you've been like in a romantic relationship and then you break up, I think afterwards it's more difficult to go back to the way it was, especially whenever you begin dating someone new. If there hasn't been like, if you entertain the idea but nothing ever happened, I think it's a lot more easier to just like move on and consider them a friend. But again, that just goes back to like setting ground rules between you and whoever you're dating and what both of you are comfortable with.
Well, props to you, man, for being there for this guy. And
Yeah, I try. Honestly, that's why I got into teaching. Over the years, I've had several students, uh, confide in me about the stuff they go through, and it's not always pretty. Sometimes, many times it's worse than just like a little breakup. And so I'm glad that I can help provide a space for them to feel comfortable and help let them know that they're not alone. And even if somebody made them feel like dirt or whatever, there are other people that care for them and love them and will be there for them.
yeah, and on the more aggressive side of that note, like maybe not saying that this kid has anything to improve by any means, but you can definitely. I wish that I'd taken every slight at every point of my life and like channeled it into, oh yeah, well, like I'll get out and run 5 miles, like I'll go swimming, I'll lift weights, I'll study hard,
Yeah.
I'll work hard, like I'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to maybe have them regret, I guess, not
Heck
being
yeah.
interested. Yeah, exactly.
Heck yeah, make her rue the day she grinded on her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Be like, that guy that works at Blockbuster.
Well, they don't have those anymore, buddy. That man is unemployed.
You don't work. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think back, like reflecting on 18-year-old relationships and like what were the differentiating factors for us guys? Because like I feel like I've spent a good portion of my life chasing things that would differentiate me from the male pack. When I boil down my primal instincts, like my base nature, and why is it that I've wanted to start companies or start this podcast or make money or have the big house or the fancy car. Like,
yeah, and so where did you land on that?
Basically, that I'm really realistic and real about this. Like I feel like I sometimes serve as a voice to my female friends of like, no, men are terrible. Like men are awful creatures and human beings. I'm one of the worst. And I just want to set it straight that like all men want money for women. Like it's a differentiating factor between other men. And if you're already like at the top of the pack, like, I don't know, like there's a big disparity in like who's getting it on in our society. Because they've had all these studies about, there are certain men, like as we've gone from an agrarian society where everybody had like a farm and needs and they needed to procreate to like, stock the farm hands and the stables and all this different stuff. As we've gotten into this type of capitalistic society where, somebody can do some lines of code and become Mark Zuckerberg and worth, $50 billion and own the entire lot in Palo Alto, I saw this dude going down the street the other day, and he was in a nice, like red, it was like a Porsche or a Lamborghini or something, top down, nice, like friar bald spot in the back of his head,
Okay.
and just a nice little blonde in the passenger seat. And I realized, like, this is the way life goes. Like, he is able to take her in the Ferrari to the private jet, to the private island, and everything's like they don't even need to think about payment. And then spending time with him and like making a commitment to him or anything like that is as simple as saying, would you like to continue doing this type of thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, I would, of course. Like, why wouldn't I? So
I'm unsure if everybody thinks that way though. Like I don't think I'm driven by money.
Well, no, I'm saying absolutely. Like, I'm not saying that you are. I'm not saying that everybody is like that. I'm saying that I've been like that for sure. Like,
Okay.
well, I'm hard on myself, but I would think that ultimately it just comes down to like as I mature, I get a more, level-headed approach to money, to what I need to sustain myself, my household, whatever.
So do you feel like that still differentiates you from the pack, or is it something else that defines you now?
Yeah, good question. Because I spent a lot of time thinking that, oh, I'm going to make it, huge, with my first startup, and still definitely hope to in many respects with that startup. But in so many ways, whenever I got into my first startup, I thought, oh, this is my last job ever. Like, I'm never going to have to update my LinkedIn profile again. I'm going to make my screw you, walk away forever money, right now. It's just,
Right.
it's happening. It's already out of my hands. Sorry, we already went public. You missed it. And, even in the midst of my tenure there, I began thinking, like, everything is temporary. Like, everything in life is temporary. And this is a chapter, and I could already see the fact that there were going to be other chapters,
Yeah.
So I think that just having been through processes that are at the top level, I feel validated. I feel validated that the startup went places. I feel validated in the fact that I made certain money marks, like annually, that I'd always thought I'd wanted to make. And then I got there and I was like, oh, this isn't anything. Like, the minute I got to the top of that mountain, I could see the mountain in the distance. And I was like,
it's kind of like you were just at the starting point.
yeah, exactly. And the hard part is, like, I made the most amount of money I've ever made probably when I was like 25, 26.
Really?
And I'm 29, because I have not been getting paid the same amount over the last couple of years, because I was in a startup and I had equity and all of this different stuff. And we just had to go get money, to actually pay ourselves anything. But I think that, I don't know, like, it was a totally different mindset when you have equity, stake, ownership in something.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't have like literal money to show for it, I feel like everything that has happened over the past 4 or 5 years for you, you would never give that up for anything.
So I feel like in certain ways I got to be a big fish in a small pool around 25, 26. I was in the agency market. I'd been on the same board for several years. And I started operating in spheres that were like, my comfort level, where I was like always hosting or had an authoritative role with it. I felt empowered and equipped to approach anybody in the building. And part of that is just who I am. But, going from that, a Dallas-based market agency to like Silicon Valley and being at the very mouth of the river of startups, like, that was intimidating.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and it was intimidating before, during, and after. Like, I was one of the only non-engineering types in the entire, there's 450 people in a room, and I felt like I was the only one that didn't go to MIT or Stanford in many ways.
Which is interesting. Like, I feel like anytime you walk into the room, you typically command it, or at least like you have a certain air of confidence about you. So,
and I certainly tried there as well.
Yeah. So was this one of the first times where you kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe under?
No.
Okay.
No. Every time I've entered a new, I'm just like you people. I'm not a god. I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot. But, I remember walking into my first ever, or one of the first ever, like, AMA. For those listening, I was on the board of American Marketing Association, their Dallas chapter. I was on their board for years and ended up becoming president-elect, a member of the executive board, blah, 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 blah. And I remember walking into that same organization, like their chapter meeting or their happy hour, years before, when I was 21, and just like quaking in my boots, dude, like knees shaking.
Yeah.
And I looked at people that were literally 27 years old, and I was like, that guy's got a beard and a budget, and, a Rip It calendar on a desk somewhere. Like,
but isn't it awesome to be like the new guy in a room and have all those people surrounding you that you can learn something from. Rather, like, I've always found myself enjoying being in that type of room rather than being in a room where everyone's like looking at me for advice or how to do things. Maybe that's just my personality. I don't know.
No, I think it's a high. Like, I think that, I mean, right now, I've evaluated, like, why am I sticking here in Dallas right now? Like, why am I not I've always had aspirations to live in New York part-time. I don't want to do the winters there. But I would love to own a place in, like, the upper west or east side, near Central Park, and rent in Dallas and own in New York. Like, that would be an amazing thing.
Can't wait to sleep on your couch.
Yeah. You'll sleep in my bed. Whoa. I take it Courtney's not coming with you that weekend? Don't tell her about us.
Yeah, nobody. I am not going to share this podcast episode with anyone.
Yeah. With anyone. You're not going to tweet it out to your massive following?
They'll have to wait for episode 5.
Anyway, just let's wrap up what we were talking about there. Yeah, I've shaken in my boots, going into first moments of college, of high school, of, startup of new companies, first day, like, but I've gotten better at the longer you stick within a career or a field, the more you just understand the intrinsic value that you bring to the situation. Mm-hmm. And once you've actually established a track record and credibility, you're like, oh, I'm partnering with this company. Like, this school sought you out, like, reload you, wanted you really badly out of a flock of applicants. You were the darling. And I feel like you've been the darling of this faith-based system in many ways, because you've taught at some of the top Adventist schools in the nation at this point, right? Like, Laurel was...
I mean, at least in DFW and near Silver Spring, for sure. Maryland.
Yeah. So what were we talking about with that?
Just like, I guess being...
Yeah, you get scared.
Less educated, or not less educated, but less experienced than other people around you.
You start to understand your value, and it's like, you're just more equipped to walk into situations where you're not focused on the fear of, like, well, what if they like me? Or what if all of these arbitrary things that don't matter? You're more focused on, what are we building here? Like, what are we... You're like Elf. What are we building today? Like, I built a rocking horse.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've definitely become more confident, like, in a room full of my peers, full of other educators, and have spoken more freely and been less afraid to just share my thoughts without, I don't know, I guess the fear of being reprimanded or disagreed with. So that's been really nice. But I guess...
You're 28 now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember when I was 25, all my friends that were 30, I was telling them, like, man, I'm feeling 25 is, like, more grown up in my mind than 21, 22, 23. Any of those were. And all my friends that were, like, 30 they would just kind of laugh and be like, yo, if you thought the change from 20 to 25 was dramatic, wait, from 25 to 30 is, like, dramatic in a different way. And I see what they were saying.
I feel like 20 to 25, you're finally, like, you're potentially moving out on your own. You're living, like, you go out, you get an apartment or whatever you do. You're no longer under your parents' household. But then, like, 25 to 30, you're kind of prepping for who you're going to be the rest of your life. Like, you should be, or you're typically well into your career by then, and you're making more grown-up decisions, and you're just kind of, deciding the person that you're going to be.
Yeah, it's like the more money you make, the more tenure you get, the more you've optimized in your life, where it's not just like, how do I make rent this month? How do I pay off this car or eat or do whatever? It becomes like, well, which gym should I join? Like, what club on this open night should I, affiliate myself with? Like, I feel like if I summed up 25 to 30, for me, it's like, oh wait, your reputation is just the collection of stories that people would tell about you, and like their experiences with you. Like, I think I've been very shaped by the passing of my grandfather this year, who, you know, it's interesting because my grandmother, his wife, passed probably 4 years prior.
Okay.
They passed on like almost the same day, at the same weekend, but 4 years apart. And when she passed, it was, you know, traumatic and everything, but I didn't have a concept yet. And when he passed, the couple was gone, and like the generation passed. Like we were at the funeral, like the visitation, and my parents had said, you know, come stand with us. And I was like, no. I see kind of my generation, my peers within the family. Like, I'm going to go stand next to them and, you know, still be the snot-nosed kid.
Yeah.
And I look back and it's like just them and my uncle and aunt. And I was like, oh, that's the family now. Like, those are the elders in this family now. And I think in that moment, it was kind of like everybody assumed an added layer of like responsibility. Like, they were assuming an added layer of responsibility because they had just told him like, hey, it's okay to pass. You know, my uncle, you know, your son is prepared to lead, you know?
Right.
And so he'd surrendered at that point and passed away. And I just realized like, oh, like my parents are coasting into the latter half here, so to speak. I hate to say that. Like it pains me to say that.
Yeah.
And I'm in the busy worker bee era. Like evolution would tell me like, this is the time to make money, you know, be opinionated about something in a particular way or another, like make the kids if you're going to make
start
the kids.
That family if you choose to do so.
You know, start the things that are going to pay you later in life. And, you know, then by 60, 70, you know, you're starting to look at...
Yeah, you kind of just look back at all you've done, right? Like,
dang, dude.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, it's 60. My mom and dad
you said 67. Like, I was thinking more 70.
I mean, I'm going to be a sexy 70-year-old,
dude,
son.
I'm just trying to chill at 70. Like, I need to be working my way out by like 75. Come on.
75? Oh, you want to be dead by 75?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not just trying to be pushed around in a wheelchair.
No, I feel you.
Like, not being able to do anything. Like, let's just call it a day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I hope that I die
I don't mean for that to sound morbid,
car crash at, like, 84.
84. That's a sweet number.
I think that's the way to go. Like, make sure, because man, if my body outlasts my brain, which is unlikely, that's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, the rants that you could see me in a nurse just abusing a nurse, abusing Courtney.
Yeah, we would be starting a new podcast, and I would be recording everything that you say.
Like nurses who murder.
Talk about clickbait.
Yo, there's so many.
That'd be so much more successful than this one.
Dang. Yo, let's talk about it. Let's talk some analytics.
It hit me.
Since we announced last week, we've actually gotten a good amount of listens. Like a lot of people listen to episode 1 and 3. There's a drop off for episode 2, which the people that listened to episode 2, it seems like they all told me like this was the best one so far in terms of maybe content or I don't know, going back and forth. We've definitely let our hair down on this one a little bit more, but
I'm thinking so.
Yeah, shout out to. It's actually been impactful in that I think I went into this thinking like, oh, maybe we can get like 1 million subscribers and stuff like that. And I've actually been touched more by like the heartfelt feedback.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Seeing people like when you quote tweeted me, and I saw that there was, first of all, your tweet was much more successful than mine, which was aggravating. But
we know this.
And there's a whole engagement thread off of it. So anyway, a couple days into it, I go and look at your thread, and I was like, oh, all these people that like Brad, like nobody likes me. All these people are like, I saw people from college.
Because they'll tell you about a breakup, and then you'll tell them, get over it.
Oh, but that's what...
I'm over here talking about the heart.
No, I know. That's
no.
That's why I'm... Because to me, I don't know how to even react a different way to that story, you know?
Yeah. But we balance each other out. And I don't want Carson to come across as cold. Like, you have definitely been there for me as I've gone through difficult moments in my life. So I need the listening audience to understand that.
You're just being a character reference for me at this point?
Yeah, just want to make sure that they know that you do have a little kind heart under all that dripping sarcasm.
You're like, he only hits me when I'm wrong.
Oh man.
No feedback on that?
No, you said it.
This is the weekly catch up. It's Carson talking and Brad giggling.
I just want to go back to whenever we were talking about the people listening in. I wanted to give a shout out. Alec, I haven't talked with you, but I saw your comment that you left on the Apple comments, and I just wanted to say thank you for the kind words. Brock, thank you for the feedback that you had given me. I really appreciate you listening. I've always looked up to you, and it's really nice that you've tuned in and listened to stuff that I'm working on. And also, Karen, thank you so much for supporting, and I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, so I would say the early numbers are definitely friends and family type audience, but we've been listened to and downloaded in 7 states,
Yes.
about 34 cities. So that was really cool. And sometimes I'm kind of clicking through the analytics thinking like, okay, who is this? Like, I bet I know.
Right.
But yeah, everybody from Colorado to Texas to New York, California. So appreciate all the listens, all the feedback. We've gotten some YouTube watches, which is cool. So yeah, I would say that the launch was successful, and just anxious to get to continue this kind of self-therapy session on a week-to-week basis. We'll obviously keep kind of a similar format in that it's just the two of us talking.
It's just us two, and we're here to stay, baby, every Wednesday.
But that being said, do you have any current events before we play ourselves out? Anything in the news? Have you been more present this week at all? I don't know if present should actually be used to describe being aware of the news.
Not so. Like,
opposite.
I just kind of saw more of the same this week. This is going to be stupid, but I did see that Kanye West announced officially that his album is dropping this Friday. And we've been talking about this since episode 1.
Catch up 458.
And he still hasn't dropped the album.
Yeah. Jesus will come before he drops the album.
Right. Yeah. So, I'll give it one listen and tell y'all that it was decent, but not worth the wait.
Okay. Cowboys bounce back.
Yes. What a beautiful game. And if you watched from beginning to end, you were never worried about the lead, which is like, it's just not normal. I'm always like, by the third or fourth quarter, my heart's sweating, and I'm worried that we're gonna mess it up somehow. But we had a commanding lead throughout the whole game. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought that there's such an added layer of comfort whenever they go off and get two turnovers and like 2 scores.
Yeah, the homie Brett with a 64-yarder. Am I thinking of the correct? What's his name?
Brett Maher.
Yeah,
the kicker.
Yeah,
I think he had was it a 63 or something?
63
like that?
Or 64.
He's had several in the 60s this season so far. Not only at home but away as well. He made one. I don't remember, on one of our losses on the road here recently.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it just makes the loss to the Jets that, like, it's like, how could we not have beaten them? But granted, we were missing like probably four key players, so it was nice having them back. I really enjoyed seeing Randall Cobb back out there. He's probably been one of my favorites this year.
When you look at our receiving core, it's funny seeing Beasley play for the Bills. Like, I don't love that because I always loved that. Plus, he's SMU, I think. He's like a local boy. But our receiving core is like ridiculous. Like Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, Gallup,
Witten.
You got Jarwin on the other end. I mean, Witten's definitely slowing down, but he's proven he's
still Old Faithful,
clutch
baby.
Catches per. They actually highlighted him in the game this week. They were like, "Did you see the part where they were like, he had said, young leaders, like, I don't want to."
Oh yeah,
shine you guys.
Yeah, exactly. But then they were like saying, "No, like, we need you to step up." And I thought that was really cool that he didn't want to overshadow them, but they still recognized that they did need his leadership.
So the main people that we had back were like the linemen, right? Like Did we have Frederick out before?
I believe so. Yep.
Dude, the dude that scares me the most, like I could see this guy on a street corner just like making me crap my pants, is Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
Yo, he looks like a beast. Like, he doesn't look like somebody you'd want to mess with. And granted, I think the first time I saw him, they were like, all right, making his debut in Game 3 because he was busy killing his girlfriend in Games 1. Like, he did something. Some sort of domestic incident. He was suspended. But then I saw him, and he's kind of a good-looking dude, but he looks fierce. Yeah. And he has just been sacking everybody.
Yeah.
It's been awesome to see.
Wonderful. So, happy about that. Well done. We done, boys.
Have you been following baseball at all? Are you a World Series guy?
No, I'm not. So, but you can update the listeners.
No, I can't really.
Or not.
Screw baseball.
Moving right along.
I'm sorry, Mom. My mom took me to the Texas Rangers last homestand, or next to last homestand.
I mean, that's important.
And we were playing the Bo Sox, and it was the last game. I grew up going to Globe Life Field in Arlington. Yeah. And I don't think that they deserve a new stadium because they lost me when we were in college. There's a famous photo of me sobbing at a party when they won the ALCS, like just sobbing uncontrollably, because my life up until that point had been as a major fan. And when they went to the World Series twice and
didn't come through,
I just, after that, it was only, NFL. And so I only watch golf and NFL on TV, but I went to that homestand with my mom and my dad, and the manager comes out and signals for, a new pitcher from the bullpen. And I go, where's Bannister? Like, the Rangers' apparently old manager. And she goes, you haven't watched a game all season, have you? And I go, no, I have not. I'm like, because I'd been talking competitively all the way. I was like, boy, 4 more games and we'd be at 500,
You Googled all.
Literally, I read the first page of Google. I had not watched a single game. It is the 157th game out of 162. And I'm like, flexing all the way there. And then I'm like, who is that? Is that a new pitching coach? And so she basically called me out on that. And then she was disappointed in me,
I love that.
Not
that she's disappointed, but the fact that she called you out.
Yeah. It was funny. She was like, you haven't actually watched a game all season.
Mrs. Gibbons, I love you dearly.
But I know that Game 1 of the World Series went down last night. I guess it's Astros. It keeps throwing me for a loop that the Astros are in the American League and in our division.
That's crazy.
I grew up with them being in the National League back when Jeff Bagwell was batting cleanup. Do you remember him?
I do not. You
were never
ever.
Okay.
I was terrible at T-ball, and it just snowball effect from
right. There. I was terrible at all sports, but I was very into certain sports growing up. Were you in any team sports that you followed as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the Cowboys, obviously.
Cowboys, Mavericks, Dallas Stars.
Okay. Wow. So you just...
Oh, I loved hockey.
Ixnayed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just never a baseball fan, and I always, I actually love going to the games. I just wouldn't go often. So watching it on TV, it never really did anything for me.
Oh, dude. It's become intolerable for me to even take in live, at least locally, because especially that game, at one point, Boston was just, creaming us, and I had already done the math. I was like, this game doesn't matter. This is an exhibition game.
Right.
There was, 25 people there, Yeah. It was depressing.
Was the sun beating on you?
No, it was starting to get darker earlier.
All right, that's nice.
That depresses me knowing that we're still getting darker and darker earlier and earlier, and we still have the hour that's going to kick in a month.
Yes, that's going to be brutal.
2 weeks?
I think 2. Yeah, I believe it's 2 weeks, man.
Dude, my birthday is less than a month away.
Yes.
Dirty 30.
The big 3-0. Our baby boy's growing up.
Yeah, it's sad. I feel like you is the exception. All of my friends are older, and so I've ushered in wild dirty 30s for all of my friends, and now they're all knitting, getting married.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, I thought instead of birthday cake, we could get you your favorite Jell-O or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But meanwhile, all of them are looking back and they're like, "Oh, you still have yet to hit 30? They're like wistful, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still in my 20s, you know.
When it's crazy because sometimes I hang out with your Dallas friends, and it's like I'm younger than you, so I'm just always like hanging on your coattail, like, hey guys, I don't know.
Please.
That's how I'd like to view myself.
Well, I mean, maybe initially, as in the first time you ever hung out with everybody, but you lived here. You cultivated your own relationships here.
I did,
and it was so trippy for me when you lived in Dallas and then you moved back to like Arlington area, and you hadn't moved all the way, like you hadn't gone to Maryland yet,
right?
But you were like not in Dallas, and because we used to live like literally under the like going to the highway, and you were right there.
Yeah, that one night our friend Gerald got locked out of your apartment and he had to walk back to mine. It took him a while. Sorry, Gerald. It took him a while to get home, but it was within walking distance.
I think Gerald was more pissed about what had happened earlier in the evening.
Yeah.
Right? He needed a walk to walk it off.
Oh my, yeah.
I need to clarify with Gerald what actually occurred that evening.
Yeah. Well, whenever we are further into our episode count, maybe we'll share that story. But I think that's for another time.
We should interview Gerald.
I would love that.
Do you think he's going to listen to this episode?
I do think he will listen to this episode. I think it would be difficult for him to. I don't think he would care to join us, but I would love to have him if he would.
Yeah. Maybe we should just get, as we get more high-techy and produced, maybe we could actually be like, you know, have some sound effects or something. Like, hey, we
just have like a soundboard.
He's like, yeah, well, this is what happened.
Oh, yeah, just like a live little listen at his recount of the story.
At his recount of the story. Have you seen all this stuff with Sesame Street? They were on the Today Show.
I know that they're moving to HBO.
I thought they'd been on HBO.
Maybe they have.
Is that what the new news is? Like, they've been doing the... Anytime I see somebody, like, I'll be clicking around, like, GMA, Today Show, CNN, and you'll see, like, okay, Sesame Street's running production on the Today Show. They replaced Savannah Guthrie on this program. Like, what is going on? What are they promoting? And it's freaking crazy how... valuable those franchises are with all those characters, like how many different ways they can license a Sesame Street. Like, not to cheat on you here, but on my other podcast, my friend brought up a very interesting story that with the Disney acquisition of Marvel, that he just read a book about the Marvel stuff with Disney, and apparently that acquisition, they were able to acquire like over, it was like 11 or 1,700 characters in the portfolio. Right. And I just thought that was insane.
Yeah, Disney is for sure taking over. Shout out Disney Plus is coming out next month. I will...
Oh, they're sponsoring us now, aren't they? That's why...
Yeah, thank you for the... Hey, acquire that bag, you know? Like, shout out Disney.
They're like this tightly clustered.
Yeah, I'll give you my routing number.
Yeah.
They have money to blow. Like,
get that direct deposit.
Yeah. Baby. Anyway, yeah, Disney Plus coming out next month. I'm really looking forward to that. Looks like some great Disney exclusives with like Star Wars and Marvel and a few other movies that they've been working on. I'm really considering getting rid of my Netflix for Disney Plus.
No way. So
yeah, they have a tier.
You're the first. I remember when everybody got off cable, right? And I was like one of the last people to have like the $150 package, and it was like, why am I doing this?
Right.
You're the first. I've been sensing this coming, but you're the first person to say I'm about to cancel Netflix because it's.
Do you understand? Disney is going to have a tier that is the same price as Netflix, and you get Disney, you get Hulu, and ESPN, all for the same price of your Netflix.
What happens when I want to watch Ozark?
Get a friend's login. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I am the friend. Like, I have my parents, I have my friend Grizz.
Okay. Well, then we'll swap.
What are you giving me?
I'll give you Disney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
What does that mean? Like, you get all Disney. So you get all Disney movies, all Disney shows.
They're going to have all...
catch up on Hannah Montana.
The Disney, 90s shows that we grew up watching, so many of them are going to be on there. All of the Pixar movies, the Disney classics, and then the original, like they're making original content. They're about to do like a live action Lady and the Tramp, I think. I'm not super hype about that, but they're doing it.
Who's the dog?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is it going to be played by a real dog so that we're sensitive?
I have no idea.
Or is it going to be Angelina Jolie invariably like dressed up?
She got that Maleficent bag.
Maleficent? Yeah. Who was the lion in the recent...
Donald Glover. Childish Gambino. Man, that movie really flopped.
Didn't he have some sort of Was he on GQ? No, it was somebody else was on GQ, but he had an interview or something where they were basically saying, dude, like, what's left?
Yeah, I mean, he's... I mean, if you have seen his show Atlanta on FX, you will know how talented of a guy he is. He's done his music career. He's rapped. He's sang. He was an actor, like, on Community and a few other TV shows, and now he's directing, producing. He's truly doing it all.
He's a stand-up comic?
He started off in Derek Comedy, and he was also a writer for 30 Rock, great friends with Tina Fey.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, this dude's wild. Highly talented.
That's just... Spread it out, God. Like,
give some to the rest of us, man.
Touch some people in the middle of the country with some talent. With some... Jeez, you just got this Renaissance man over here doing whatever he wants. Because some of his rap, I mean, you've come over and played some of his stuff for me where I'm like, OMG. Like,
yeah,
he
man.
is
His
brilliant.
freestyles, woo.
I like him. If you had to choose him in a particular format or medium for the rest of your life, like you could only listen to his rap albums, or you could only watch him in Community, or I guess we'll go with actor, rapper.
You would have to say singer too, because he's kind of abandoned rap for his little R&B.
Now stay woke.
Yeah, Redbone. So if I had to choose, I would do rap, because he always had like really great punchlines.
Ain't nobody watching Community.
Yeah, I mean, Community. Listen, I was a huge Community fan, but
really?
I would choose rap. I would choose his rap career over that any day.
Did they sandwich Community after like Parks and Rec or something? Was that like...
Maybe. I honestly don't remember.
It's interesting to see the networks do these like big blocks of shows where they're like, they'll have Comedy Tuesday. And it's like...
But he became so successful, and he left like after season 3, and the show was never the same after that.
That'd be like, can you imagine a Parks and Rec without Nick Offerman?
No.
By the way, did you see that he's trying to get skinny? Like, I saw him in a commercial the other day, and I was like, whoa, you look too good. Like,
he's looking fit.
Yeah, like, I'm like, go back to Ron, I want the thick stash
hearty,
and the gut. And
eat the steak. Yeah,
silence,
exactly.
Yeah. I think have you seen every episode of Parks?
Of course.
My favorite is when they put him in the desk that just goes all the way around.
Yeah, so he can avoid the people walking in.
Oh,
his little swivel chair.
That show is so sweet. Like, just...
It's great.
That, Leslie and, dude, my oh, we'll have to bleep that. My favorite is, Aziz. What's his character's name?
I don't know. I can't think right now.
Who's his, business partner?
Whose?
We can totally edit that part.
Yeah.
Giancarlo.
John Ralphio.
John Ralphio.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Him and his sister in that show are the absolute best.
The worst! If you've seen the show, that was a decent impression.
Well, so you had a heart attack at 22. You feel like you just had a heart attack?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's too funny. All right, man. Anything else that we need to catch up on?
I think that would cover it. It was kind of a slow news week, so I'm glad that...
It was not a slow news.
Wasn't it?
People are getting impeached. Dude,
that's same old, though. Like, I'm so sick and tired of talking about that.
Good for... I've been telling you to push back on my...
And so I have.
Always political rhetoric. Anyway, so let's dive into politics now. All right, guys. Well, Bradley, what do you say we start wrapping this thing up?
Sounds good to me, buddy.
Episode 4 in the books. Appreciate you getting together, and as always, enjoy this. Appreciate all the listeners. Be sure to check us out at weeklycatchuppodcast.com. We're on YouTube. We're on the Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search Weekly Catch Up Podcast. We're easily locatable and appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch up with you next week.
We appreciate y'all listening to our silliness. So.
Take care.
All right, bye, guys.